What if everything you were ever told was too much, too sensitive, too intense, too deeply emotional, was not a flaw, but a sign of something extraordinary hidden within you? What if every critique, every judgment that labeled you as overreactive or overly sensitive was never a mark of weakness, but rather a subtle acknowledgement of a rare and profound inner nature? Imagine for a moment that your heightened perception of life is not a burden, but a unique compass pointing toward the deepest layers of your true self. Carl Jung once suggested that the greatest privilege of a human life is to fully inhabit your authentic being. But what happens when that authentic self doesn't fit into the rigid molds that society constructs? Living outside of conventional expectations often feels isolating. When you cannot tolerate shallow explanations, when every emotional experience resonates far deeper than it seems to others, when you perceive the currents of life while standing slightly apart from its flow, this is not alienation, it is the call of an awakening. Jung's groundbreaking research identified a rare group of individuals endowed with what he called differentiated consciousness. These are people who perceive reality through a subtler, more nuanced lens. They do not merely observe the world, they feel it, they interpret it, they live through it on a level that is largely inaccessible to most. For them, existence is simultaneously a precious gift and a daunting challenge. The intensity of your inner life can make the external world seem overwhelming. You sense what others cannot. You feel undercurrents in a room where others see only calm. You intuit incongruities between words and the unspoken emotions behind them. This is not a sign of malfunction. It is a testament to a finely tuned nervous system, a heightened sensitivity that allows your soul to perceive the world in extraordinary detail. Yet the world often misinterprets this as weakness. It pressures you to tone it down, to conform, to appear more ordinary. In doing so, you create an inner conflict, a division between the part of you that longs for authenticity and the part that seeks approval from a society that fears depth. Jung termed this psychological tension a split within the self, one side yearning for genuine expression, the other compelled to comply with imposed norms. The result is exhaustion, a sense of living contrary to your true nature, and a profound internal struggle. But Jung believed that within this intensity lies the seed of one's greatest power. When you learn to transform emotional intensity into conscious insight, when you treat your emotions not as enemies but as teachers, you unlock a new dimension of inner wisdom and awareness. The first unmistakable sign of belonging to this rare psychological group is emotional depth beyond ordinary reach. Your feelings are not fleeting reactions. They are complex currents that ripple through the entirety of your being. Jung referred to these as emotionally charged complexes, where energy flows between the conscious and the unconscious, creating a resonance that the average person cannot experience. Society often mislabels such depth as instability, yet for those with refined psychological wiring, it is a unique gift. You can detect tension without words, read deception behind a smile, and sense invisible energies in the spaces between people. This is not psychic fantasy. It is the heightened perceptual acuity of a highly attuned soul. The second defining sign is an insatiable curiosity about the world, humanity, and oneself. Unlike the majority, who move through life largely unreflective, following societal scripts and accepted norms, you are compelled to ask why at every turn. Why do humans accept pain in relationships? Why is superficiality often celebrated, while authenticity is feared? Why do hollow conversations masquerade as connection? Your inquiries are not rebellion, they are a form of conscious engagement, a striving for deeper understanding. Jung identified such individuals as possessing active thinking functions, capable of challenging unconscious collective patterns and imagining more meaningful, authentic realities. Yet this clarity comes with paradoxical solitude. The more you see, the less others may understand. Your questions, meant to illuminate, may feel disruptive or discomforting to those who cling to illusion. You're often perceived as critical or difficult, but in reality, you are simply more honest with yourself than most dare to be. In this solitude, however, lies a unique gift: the ability to perceive future possibilities, to sense the trajectory of events before it becomes apparent to others. Jung referred to this as a profound intuitive foresight, a responsibility to illuminate paths and serve as a living example of truth. The third hallmark is psychological independence. You do not rely on others to validate your worth, not out of defiance, but as a survival mechanism. While most people seek external reassurance, you have learned to stand firmly in your own authenticity. Jung observed that rare individuals develop an individuated consciousness earlier in life, often through adversity. Pain becomes the crucible for self-realization, teaching you to rely on yourself while maintaining compassion for others. Society often misinterprets this self-reliance as coldness, yet it is in fact the protective cultivation of a sacred inner space. Your self-reliance serves as both beacon and challenge. It attracts those seeking stability and depth, while intimidating the insecure. Jung emphasized that true self-mastery does not isolate one out of ego or superiority, but allows for profound sharing, mutual growth, and connection with those who respect and honor the authentic self. Those who achieve genuine independence become magnets, drawing love and admiration, while discerning who seeks merely to control or exploit their light.
The fourth sign of belonging to this rare psychological group is an extraordinarily refined intuition bordering on what some might call extrasensory perception. Jung revolutionized psychology by emphasizing that intuition is not vague or mystical, but a legitimate psychological function. It is the mind's ability to gather information through the unconscious, revealing solutions, insights, or directions that are invisible to the ordinary perception. For you, this is not fantasy. It is the natural operation of a mind finely attuned to subtle signals. You perceive the unspoken truths behind words, the hidden tensions in spaces that appear calm, the silent struggles masked behind smiles. It is as though your consciousness has a direct line to the undercurrents of human experience and the broader psyche of the collective unconscious. Yet this intuitive gift is double-edged. Jung warned that without proper boundaries, those with heightened sensitivity can become psychologically exhausted. You may find yourself absorbing not only your own emotions, but the unprocessed feelings of those around you, inadvertently becoming an untrained healer or counselor. You soothe conflicts, absorb unspoken pain, and carry the emotional weight of others without realizing it. Over time, this can lead to depletion, leaving you feeling drained, hollow, and invisible in the very role of nurturing others. The paradox is striking. Your strength lies in your ability to connect deeply, yet your gift can overwhelm you if not properly managed. The secret, as Jung and later analysts like Jung emphasized, is learning to establish psychological boundaries. You must cultivate the skill to feel and perceive without internalizing or being carried away by the energies of others, to hold space without dissolving into it, to connect without losing your center. Once mastered, your intuition becomes a guiding light, not a storm. It allows you to illuminate paths for yourself and for others without sacrificing your inner equilibrium. Your perceptive ability transforms from a potential burden into a superpower, enabling you to navigate life with clarity and wisdom beyond the ordinary. The fifth marker is a profound yearning for meaning rather than mere social acceptance. As Jung put it, the greatest privilege of a human life is to become oneself. But what if being fully yourself requires stepping beyond the comfort of societal norms and superficial roles? Some souls simply cannot endure inauthenticity. For you, meaning is not a luxury, it is a necessity. You cannot compromise your values, feign contentment, or pursue hollow achievements simply to conform or gain approval. Living authentically may often feel like an uphill struggle because it entails rejecting shallow comforts, avoiding performative interactions, and resisting the temptation of acceptance at the cost of truth. This pursuit of meaning carries its own hidden weight. When others choose safety over authenticity, you might feel alienated or misunderstood. While society favors mediocrity as a form of stability, your psyche is tuned to higher frequencies of truth, justice, and authenticity. To live according to these inner imperatives is not arrogance, but fidelity to the soul. Jung emphasized that those who prioritize meaning over superficial comfort act as catalysts for collective psychological evolution. By refusing shallow compromises, you force others to confront their own illusions and awaken to a deeper understanding of life. Your personal struggle thus has a far-reaching impact beyond your immediate circle. The sixth sign is a natural evolution beyond people and environments that no longer serve your growth. This is not betrayal or rebellion. It is a manifestation of the soul's maturation. Jung recognized that true psychological development rarely occurs in comfort. It is a lonely, sometimes painful journey, because every step of growth requires letting go of what once provided safety or familiarity. Relationships that were once supportive may become incompatible with your emerging self. Environments that once felt secure may now seem restrictive. You may experience a profound sense of displacement, realizing that those who once understood you no longer can, not because they fail, but because you have evolved beyond the old versions of yourself. This process is what Jung described as psychological death and rebirth. The old self dies, making way for a newly conscious ego, a self shaped by awareness rather than expectation. In this transformation, old bonds dissolve, and new ones form naturally with those who resonate at your emerging frequency. You are no longer tethered by obligation, social conformity, or inherited patterns. Instead, you move toward authenticity with a deliberate, sometimes solitary grace. This evolutionary process often coincides with what Jung called the dark night of the soul, a period of existential isolation where you confront yourself fully. Unlike ordinary loneliness, this isolation is existential, a recognition that your path is uniquely yours, and that growth sometimes requires distance from even beloved companions. The seventh indicator is a rare and transformative presence in the world. Jung observed that some individuals radiate change simply by existing authentically. Their energy creates psychological holding space, a safe environment where others can drop masks, speak truthfully, and explore emotions without fear of judgment. You do not merely listen with your ears, you hear with your heart. You do not merely observe, you perceive layers beneath the surface that most people never notice. This presence allows others to feel safe in their vulnerability, encouraging authentic interaction and personal insight. It is a healing effect that does not require effort, words, or action, only your genuine existence. However, there is a shadow side. As Jung noted, those who can hold space and deeply understand others often become unintentional therapists. People may offload their emotional burdens onto you, unaware of the toll it takes. Compassion pushed to extremes without discernment can transform into unconscious self-sacrifice, leaving you depleted and invisible in your role as supporter. Therefore, establishing boundaries is essential, not to withdraw care, but to protect your depth while still nurturing those capable of mutual respect. Mastery of this skill allows you to maintain your unique energy without being drained by the unprocessed emotions of others. Finally, the eighth and perhaps most defining sign is a sense of a larger purpose stirring within you, even if it remains unnamed. Jung described this as the transcendent function, the psychological mechanism driving human evolution by harmonizing consciousness and unconsciousness. Your inner calling is not a delusion of grandeur, but a whisper from the deepest layers of the collective psyche, a message that your life is meant to serve something greater than mere survival. This purpose manifests as a persistent, insistent drive, a subtle yet powerful force compelling you to live authentically, to create meaning, and to pursue your deepest potential. Ignoring this call is not without consequence. Feelings of emptiness, confusion, anxiety, or depression are signals that your soul is out of alignment. These are not signs of weakness. They are alarms set by the unconscious to redirect you toward your true path. Jung emphasized that such individuals are not merely living for themselves. They are laying the foundation for collective human consciousness. By responding to this inner summons, you help humanity evolve psychologically, bridging the gap between unconscious instincts and conscious awareness. In Part 3, we will explore how this inner purpose, when fully recognized, not only transforms your personal life, but also your relationships, your creative expression, and your role as a guiding force for others. We will also examine the responsibility and practical methods for protecting your depth while contributing meaningfully to the world around you.
Having recognized the subtle stirrings of a profound inner purpose, the rare individual begins to notice a shift in how they relate to the world. The sixth, seventh, and eighth signs are not merely indicators of heightened sensitivity or intuition. They are the markers of a soul in active evolution, a consciousness moving toward integration and mastery. This evolution brings with it a transformation not only of self-perception, but of the entire relational landscape in your life. The sixth sign, as we discussed, is the natural separation from people and environments that no longer serve your growth. This evolution is a necessary pruning. When you shed relationships and surroundings that inhibit authenticity, you create space for the connections and opportunities aligned with your emerging self. The process often feels isolating, even painful, because it requires letting go of the familiar, the comfortable, and sometimes the beloved. Jung described this as the psychological death and rebirth, a necessary phase in individuation. You cannot grow fully while clinging to patterns or expectations that contradict your essence. Each departure, each severed bond is not loss, it is liberation. During this stage, you may confront what Jung referred to as the dark night of the soul. It is an existential isolation distinct from ordinary loneliness. You realize that your path is uniquely yours and no one can walk it for you. Others may misinterpret your detachment as coldness, indifference, or arrogance. Yet in truth, this distance is not rejection, it is alignment. Your commitment is not to pleasing others, but to honor your inner truth. In this solitude, your awareness deepens, and your psyche begins to operate with a level of clarity unavailable to the distracted masses. The seventh sign is your transformative presence, an energy that quietly influences those around you. Jung called this holding space, a capacity to create a safe psychological environment through your sheer presence. You do not need to instruct, persuade, or even speak. Your authenticity radiates, allowing others to confront themselves with honesty. In such a space, masks fall away. Vulnerabilities become visible, unspoken tensions are acknowledged, and people feel seen and understood at a profound level. Your mere presence provides a subtle healing effect, a grounding force in a world that often feels chaotic, shallow, or overwhelming. However, the gift of presence comes with its own challenges. Highly intuitive and empathetic individuals frequently become unintentional conduits for the emotions of others.
You might absorb their pain, confusion, and fear, often without realizing it, until it manifests as exhaustion, emotional depletion, or even a sense of invisibility in your own life. Jung highlighted this phenomenon as the helper syndrome, a state in which compassion becomes an unconscious form of self-sacrifice. Without discernment, your energy can be drained, leaving you vulnerable and unbalanced. The key lies in establishing boundaries, not to retreat from connection, but to protect your inner depth while still offering genuine support. Learning to love, guide, and care without losing yourself is essential to sustaining your psychological and emotional vitality. The eighth sign, perhaps the most significant, is the presence of a larger, often unnamed purpose within you. Jung described this as the transcendent function, a mechanism by which consciousness harmonizes with the unconscious, driving growth, evolution, and self-realization. Unlike fleeting ambitions or social validation, this purpose arises from the depths of your psyche. It feels insistent, as if life itself is nudging you to fulfill a mission greater than survival or comfort. It may begin as a vague feeling, a restless pull, or an intuitive knowing that you are meant to contribute meaningfully, to create or to illuminate some truth that the world desperately needs. Responding to this call transforms your relationship with time, energy, and even pain. Ordinary distractions and shallow pursuits lose their allure. Life's trivialities no longer consume you, and social approval becomes secondary to authenticity. Jung observed that individuals attuned to their transcendent purpose operate under a dual consciousness. They are simultaneously aware of their immediate environment and of a larger unfolding pattern in the universe. They live guided by inner alignment, and this inner compass often leads them into paths of discomfort, challenge, and radical growth. One of the paradoxes of this evolution is that living authentically and pursuing your purpose can amplify feelings of isolation. Society is structured around conformity, predictability, and mediocrity. Those who break free of these constraints often encounter misunderstanding, resistance, or even hostility. Your intensity, depth, and authenticity and refusal to accept superficiality may appear threatening or incomprehensible to those anchored in conventional norms. Jung referred to this as the price of differentiation. The very qualities that make you rare and impactful, depth, intuition, authenticity, also create a sense of separation from the collective. Yet within this isolation lies a hidden blessing. When you cease performing for acceptance, cease dimming your light to accommodate others, and fully embrace your inner truth, you naturally begin to attract resonant souls. These are individuals who respond not to surface appearances, but to the authenticity, depth, and integrity that you embody. Jung called this psychological resonance. Two souls, recognizing each other's truth, draw together naturally, creating relationships based on mutual respect, growth, and shared purpose. These connections are not forced, they are magnetic, harmonious, and profoundly stabilizing. At the same time, your emerging purpose often positions you as a bridge between consciousness and the unconscious, a living demonstration of higher awareness. As you act in alignment with your inner calling, you inadvertently inspire those around you to awaken, question, and seek their own truth. You become a catalyst for psychological evolution, influencing not only your immediate circle, but rippling outwards into society. Your life transforms from personal growth into collective impact, as your authenticity serves as a mirror for others, encouraging them to step beyond fear, superficiality, or complacency. But Jung also emphasized a crucial caveat. Purpose without humility can become ego inflation, a trap in which one confuses the fulfillment of inner calling with personal grandeur or superiority. The rare individual must navigate this carefully, balancing courage with humility, vision with compassion. Your gifts are unique, but they are not a license to dominate or judge.
True mastery lies in walking the path of authenticity while remaining grounded in empathy, connection, and awareness of the shared human experience. By this stage in your journey, it becomes clear that the path of a highly sensitive, rare soul is a continuous cycle of awareness, growth, and responsible influence. You learn to perceive beyond the ordinary, to embrace your intuition, to establish boundaries without retreating from connection, and to align your actions with a higher purpose. Each step is both an inward and outward journey, where self-discovery simultaneously advances the evolution of those around you. Jung's studies revealed that such individuals, differentiated, introspective, and purpose-driven, are the catalysts for the psychological and spiritual advancement of humanity. In Part 4, we will examine practical strategies for nurturing and sustaining these rare gifts. We will explore how to manage emotional intensity, cultivate healthy boundaries, transform intuitive insight into meaningful action, and sustain a life of purpose without succumbing to exhaustion or isolation. These strategies will provide a roadmap for not merely surviving in a world unprepared for your depth, but thriving, creating impact, and living in alignment with your soul's calling.
By now, you have a clearer understanding of the rare individual's journey, heightened sensitivity, deep intuition, discernment, and a burgeoning sense of purpose. But awareness alone is insufficient. Without deliberate practice and conscious self-care, these gifts can become overwhelming, even debilitating. Part 4 explores practical strategies to nurture your inner depth, protect your energy, and transform your sensitivity into a source of sustainable power and influence. The first step is self-awareness and reflection. Rare individuals often experience intense emotions, heightened intuition, and subtle perceptions that others overlook. Journaling, meditation, and contemplative practices serve as anchors. These tools help distinguish between internal and external stimuli, clarify your responses, and integrate insights without becoming lost in overwhelm. Jung described this process as active engagement with the unconscious, a method to bring shadow material into consciousness. By confronting fears, desires, and unresolved patterns, you transform reactive impulses into conscious choice. Second, establishing healthy boundaries is essential. Your sensitivity can make you acutely attuned to others' needs, pain, or negativity, often leading to emotional overextension. Without clear boundaries, you risk exhaustion, resentment, or disconnection from your authentic self. Boundaries are not barriers against connection. They are protective structures that allow you to engage deeply without losing your center. Techniques include time-limiting emotional exposure, creating physical and psychological space, and learning to say no without guilt. Boundaries are acts of self-respect, enabling sustainable empathy and influence. Third, practice selective energy engagement. Rare individuals are naturally drawn to situations, people, and experiences that resonate with their inner truth. Engaging with everything equally dilutes energy and undermines focus. Prioritize activities aligned with your values, purpose, and growth. This includes relationships, professional endeavors, creative expression, and spiritual exploration. By choosing where and how to invest your energy, you amplify effectiveness, deepen fulfillment, and prevent the subtle burnout that comes from overextension. Fourth, cultivate resilience through self-care rituals. The intense internal life of a rare individual requires replenishment. Rituals may include physical practices such as yoga, tai chi, or nature walks, mental practices such as reading, study, or creative writing, and emotional practices such as reflection, gratitude, or guided visualization. Even brief daily routines that nurture your body, mind, and spirit build cumulative resilience. Jung emphasized that maintaining harmony between conscious and unconscious realms requires consistent attention and care, Without it, the gifts of depth and intuition can feel like burdens. Sixth, transform insight into action. High sensitivity and intuition are only meaningful when translated into tangible contributions. This might manifest in creating art, mentoring others, leading initiatives, problem-solving, or advocating for causes aligned with your values. Action solidifies purpose and prevents stagnation in purely introspective or emotional states. Moreover, applying your insights externally strengthens confidence, reinforces personal boundaries, and integrates inner wisdom with practical reality. Jung's principle of individuation stresses the union of inner experience with outer expression. A rare soul must balance reflection with purposeful engagement. Seventh, embrace discomfort as a growth catalyst. Rare individuals frequently encounter situations that challenge conventional norms, provoke existential questions, or confront deeply ingrained beliefs. Rather than avoiding discomfort, treat it as a signal of growth. The path to mastery is rarely linear or comfortable. Each challenge, whether emotional, relational, or existential, is an opportunity to refine discernment, deepen empathy, and strengthen resilience. Jung emphasized that suffering is an indispensable teacher, transforming raw potential into conscious capability. Eighth, seek resonant communities and mentorship. While rare individuals often experience periods of isolation, connection with like-minded individuals or spiritually aligned individuals is invaluable. These relationships provide validation, insight, and guidance while reinforcing healthy boundaries. Mentorship, whether formal or informal, offers perspective, support, and accountability, helping you navigate complex internal experiences. Surrounding yourself with people who understand, respect, and inspire your depth amplifies growth while reducing feelings of alienation. Ninth, practice continual self-inquiry. Rare individuals are in a state of perpetual evolution. Curiosity about your motivations, patterns, and potential keeps growth dynamic. Ask probing questions. Why do I react this way? Where is my energy going? Which actions align with my purpose? This reflective practice transforms intuitive knowledge into conscious understanding, strengthening agency and fostering mastery over internal and external challenges. Jung described this as the dialogue between ego and self, a lifelong conversation that cultivates wisdom, clarity, and psychological integration. Finally, honor your purpose with courage. The rare individual's gifts are not solely for personal fulfillment, they exist to serve a higher calling. Purpose may manifest in subtle ways, compassionate acts, guidance, creative expression, or in more pronounced forms such as leadership, innovation, or societal impact. Courage is required to pursue this path consistently, especially when it involves risk, misunderstanding, or opposition. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. By embracing your calling, you align with life's deeper currents, amplifying influence, meaning, and satisfaction. When these strategies are practiced with consistency, sensitivity evolves from vulnerability into a source of extraordinary strength, wisdom, and impact. Your rare qualities, intensity, empathy, intuition, and discernment become tools for transformation, for yourself, for those around you, and ultimately for the world. As Jung observed, individuals who integrate these capacities reach the threshold of collective consciousness expansion, subtly shaping the trajectory of society through the integrity, insight, and courage of their actions. In conclusion, sustaining rare gifts requires conscious cultivation, courageous action, and balanced engagement with the self and world. Awareness, boundaries, selective engagement, self-care, purpose-driven action, community support, humility, and continual inquiry form the architecture of a resilient, impactful, and fulfilled life. These strategies allow the sensitive, intuitive, and rare individual not only to survive in a world often hostile to depth, but to thrive, create meaning, and contribute profoundly to human evolution. Part 5 will examine real-life examples of rare individuals who embodied these principles, offering inspiration, lessons, and practical demonstrations of what is possible when sensitivity, insight, and purpose converge.
To truly grasp the potential and power of rare individuals, it is illuminating to look at real-life examples, people who embody depth, sensitivity, intuition, and purpose in ways that transform themselves and the world around them. Their stories are not just inspiring, they offer practical lessons on navigating life as a highly rare, psychologically differentiated person. Consider Albert Einstein, whose unparalleled curiosity, deep reflection, and disregard for conventional norms reshaped our understanding of the universe. Einstein's sensitivity to abstract patterns and his ability to perceive beyond surface appearances allowed him to intuitively grasp concepts that eluded his contemporaries. Yet his life was not without struggle, misunderstood by peers, often isolated, and sometimes dismissed as impractical. His genius was inseparable from his emotional depth and persistent self-inquiry. By cultivating his curiosity, establishing intellectual boundaries, and remaining steadfast to his vision, he transformed internal insight into tangible contributions that continue to define modern science. Einstein's life exemplifies the rare individual's journey. Deep perception, independence, and courage fused with persistent reflection and application. Another striking example is Frida Kahlo, whose life and art reveal profound emotional sensitivity translated into creative expression. Kahlo endured immense physical pain and personal loss, yet she transformed these challenges into a medium that allowed her to communicate inner truth. Her paintings expose layers of experience that few could articulate, resonating across cultures and generations. Kahlo's ability to sit with discomfort, explore her inner world, and convey authenticity demonstrates a central principle of rare individuals. When internal intensity is directed into a purposeful outlet, it becomes a transformative force for oneself and for society. Her life teaches that embracing one's depth, even in the face of adversity, can cultivate resilience, empathy, and lasting impact. Maya Angelou offers another profound illustration. Angelou's extraordinary sensitivity, coupled with a deep sense of moral and social purpose, enabled her to perceive injustices and human truths often ignored by others. Her work as a writer, poet, and activist reflected not only her own experiences of suffering and triumph, but also the collective unconscious of marginalized communities. Angelou demonstrates how rare individuals, when aligned with purpose, act as conduits for collective awakening. Through disciplined engagement with her gifts, storytelling, reflection, and emotional authenticity, she transformed personal insight into societal change, embodying the rare combination of depth, intuition, and social responsibility. Closer to contemporary contexts, consider Jane Goodall, whose pioneering research in primatology exemplifies extreme sensitivity and empathy toward life. Goodall's intuition and profound patience allowed her to see connections and behaviors in chimpanzee communities that traditional scientific approaches overlooked. Her deep engagement with her subjects created both unprecedented scientific knowledge and a profound moral message about the interconnectedness of all life. Goodall's life illustrates the rare individual's capacity to integrate sensitivity, insight, and observation into disciplined, meaningful action. It also shows how one can hold space for others, human or non-human, without losing oneself.
A more intimate example can be found in modern-day social innovators and therapists who embody high empathy and emotional intelligence in their work. These individuals are often drawn to situations that challenge conventional methods, feeling compelled to transform suffering into insight and insight into actionable support. Their gift lies not only in understanding others, but in guiding transformation through presence, awareness, and structured engagement. The challenge remains. Without boundaries, these rare individuals risk burnout as they absorb more than they release. Yet those who learn to channel energy strategically, integrate reflective practices, and honor personal needs demonstrate extraordinary impact while sustaining their own psychological and emotional integrity. What do all these examples reveal about rare individuals? First, deep perception and sensitivity are assets, not flaws. Each person faced misunderstanding, isolation, or criticism precisely because their awareness exceeded that of the people around them. Their emotional intensity, keen intuition, and persistent inquiry set them apart, yet these qualities were also essential for their breakthroughs. As Jung noted, the tension between internal depth and external societal norms is a crucible for growth. The challenges of being different are inseparable from the rewards of living authentically. Second, purpose acts as the stabilizing and guiding force. Rare individuals thrive when they connect their gifts to a mission, be it scientific discovery, creative expression, advocacy, or mentorship. Purpose channels heightened perception and emotional depth into action, preventing overwhelm while maximizing impact. In every example, the ability to translate inner experience into meaningful contribution was what allowed the individual not only to survive, but to flourish. Third, resilience and self-care are indispensable. Rare individuals are exposed to unique pressures, intense emotions, amplified empathy, and heightened awareness of collective dynamics. Those who succeed learn to replenish themselves, establish boundaries, and seek resonance with supportive communities. Whether through solitude, meditation, creative practices, or mentorship, sustained self-care is the foundation that allows sensitivity to become strength. Fourth, integration of inner and outer worlds is crucial. Jung emphasized the importance of individuation, the ongoing process of reconciling the conscious self with the unconscious. Rare individuals exemplify this principle by uniting reflection, emotional awareness, and intuition with deliberate action. They live neither entirely in abstraction nor only in practical reality, but in a dynamic equilibrium that allows insight to inform action and action to refine insight. This integrated state is what enables rare individuals to serve as catalysts for collective growth. Finally, these examples show that impact is both personal and collective. By living authentically, rare individuals create ripple effects that influence communities, societies, and even humanity at large. Their courage to stand apart, to resist conformity, and to act from insight inspires others to seek authenticity, question assumptions, and cultivate awareness. Jung observed that the differentiated individual functions as a bridge between unconscious potential and conscious realization, transforming both personal life and societal consciousness. In closing, the lives of rare, sensitive, and profoundly insightful individuals offer both guidance and validation. They demonstrate that the gifts once labeled excessive or misaligned are actually the hallmarks of extraordinary potential. Emotional intensity, relentless inquiry, heightened perception, and a yearning for authentic meaning are not weaknesses. They are compass points directing you toward your highest purpose. By embracing these qualities, establishing boundaries, cultivating resilience,
seeking resonant communities, and translating insight into action, you can navigate the challenges and rewards of your unique path. Your journey, like those of Einstein, Kahlo, Angelou, and Goodall, is one of integration, courage, and contribution. It is not about achieving perfection, winning external approval, or conforming to societal expectations. It is about living fully in alignment with your inner truth, allowing your sensitivity and insight to illuminate both your own life and the lives of others. Each moment of reflection, each act of courage, and each choice to honor your purpose contributes to a subtle but profound transformation, not just for you, but for the consciousness of humanity. Ultimately, the rare individual's gift is not simply to feel more deeply, see more clearly, or think more critically. It is to become a living testament to the possibility of authentic human evolution. By honoring your depth, trusting your intuition, pursuing meaning over convenience, and nurturing both self and others, you fulfill a role that few can even comprehend, a pioneer of consciousness, a bearer of insight, and a catalyst for awakening. Your presence alone becomes a beacon